You're telling me nothing's wrong? Min Chan's voice cracked through the pediatric wing hallway, sharp enough that Ariana nearly dropped her mop. My son loses 3 kilos in 2 weeks and you call it normal? She'd been cleaning hospitals for 6 years now, learning to make herself invisible while doctors argued and families cried. But something about the tall Korean man's desperation made her pause near the consultation room door. Through the gap, she could see him holding up his phone, probably showing medical charts to yet another specialist who clearly wasn't listening. Mr. Yoon, some babies just don't. Min Chan cut off the pediatrician with deadly calm. Don't tell me it's developmental. I've taken him to 4 hospitals. Something is killing my son, and nobody seems to care enough to figure out what. Ariana's hand tightened on the mop handle. The overhead lights reflected off something on the floor near her cart, tiny droplets that shouldn't be there. Not in a consultation room. She crouched down, her cleaner's instinct kicking in before her brain could catch up. The liquid was slightly yellow, sticky. She'd seen this before, months ago, in the maternity ward when a new mother's breast pump had malfunctioned.
Formula.
But wrong somehow. Sir, we've run every test. The doctor tried again, but Ariana found herself pushing the door open before she could think better of it. 3 pairs of eyes swung toward her. The doctor's annoyed, Min Chan's hollow with exhaustion, and behind them, a nurse looking scandalized that a janitor had interrupted. The bottles, Ariana said, her Congolese accent thicker when she was nervous. Sir, when you heat the formula, you shake it right after? Min Chan blinked at her like she'd spoken another language. What does that have to do with the temperature? She stepped forward, forgetting the mop entirely. My cousin, she had the same problem last year. Baby kept losing weight. Doctors said nothing wrong. Turns out the hot water was breaking down the nutrients before the baby even drank it. She was mixing it wrong, putting powder in after heating instead of before, then shaking too hard when it was hot. All the vitamins just destroyed. The doctor's face shifted from annoyance to consideration. That's actually possible. If the formula's exposed to water above 70 degrees Celsius before mixing properly. I follow the instructions exactly. Min Chan interrupted, but his voice had lost its edge. He was looking at Ariana now, really looking, and she felt something shift in her chest at the hope dawning in his eyes. The nanny prepares everything according to the can. Does she boil the water first, then let it cool? Ariana asked. Or does she microwave it? Silence. She microwaves it, Min Chan said slowly. For exactly 90 seconds. The instructions say warm water, so he stopped, his jaw clenching. She's been destroying the formula's nutrition for 2 months. The doctor was already pulling up research on her tablet, nodding. If the microwave creates hot spots above 70 degrees, and she's adding powder to already heated water, yes, this could absolutely cause malnutrition even while the baby's eating full bottles. We need to verify immediately. But Min Chan wasn't listening to the doctor anymore. He'd moved closer to Ariana, close enough that she could see the sleepless nights carved under his eyes, the expensive watch on his wrist that was overly expensive, the way his hands shook slightly as he reached toward her then stopped himself. You just saved my son's life, he whispered. You're a janitor. How did you know? I pay attention, Ariana said simply. And I've cleaned enough spilled formula to know what it should look and smell like. What was on the floor near the nurse's station? It wasn't right. Too thin, wrong color. Mr. Yoon, we should verify this theory immediately, the doctor interjected. If you can bring in a prepared bottle. I'll fire her, Min Chan said, still looking at Ariana. The nanny. Tonight. And I'll hire you instead. Ariana actually laughed, the sound surprised out of her. Sir, I'm not qualified to care for babies. I just clean. You're more qualified than 4 doctors who miss something obvious. His voice had dropped lower, intense. I'll pay you triple whatever you're making here. Quadruple. Name your price. I can't just. Ariana's mind was spinning. She made barely enough to send money home to Kinshasa each month, to support her sister's schooling, to save for the nursing degree she'd been chasing for 3 years. Triple would change everything. Why would you trust me? You don't even know my name. Ariana Okafor. He read from her name tag, and something about the way he said it made her skin warm. I'm Minchon Yoon. I run import-export businesses across 6 countries. I'm very good at reading people and knowing who to trust. And right now, you're the only person who's actually helped my son. The doctor cleared her throat loudly. This is highly irregular. Mr. Yoon, you can't just hire hospital staff. I can hire whoever I want. Minchon pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Ariana, give me your number. I'm serious about this offer. Even if you don't want to be a nanny, I owe you a debt. Let me repay it. You don't owe me anything, Ariana protested, but she was already rattling off her number, already imagining what she could do with that kind of money. Her sister Lucy could finish university. They could fix their mother's house. Maybe she could even afford actual nursing school instead of just dreaming about it. I owe you everything, Minchon corrected. His phone buzzed in his hand, probably the nanny calling back, but he ignored it. My son is my entire world. Without him, I'm nothing. You gave him back to me. Ariana felt tears prick her eyes unexpectedly. Then go be with him. Make sure I'm right before you start making life-changing offers to janitors you just met. Something flickered across Minchon's face, almost like pain. You're wrong about one thing. This isn't life-changing, it's life-saving. There's a difference. He left then, the doctor trailing after him with instructions about formula preparation and nutritional monitoring. The nurse gave Ariana a sour look before following, leaving her alone in the consultation room with her forgotten mop and a phone number from a man who looked at her like she'd hung the moon. Her phone buzzed 40 minutes later while she was sanitizing the emergency room. Unknown number. You were right. Soo-hyun is already looking better after one proper bottle. The pediatrician confirmed everything.
I meant what I said about the job.
Please consider it.
JY.
Ariana stared at the message, her heart doing strange things in her chest. She should delete it. Rich men didn't just hire janitors to care for their children. There had to be more to this story, complications she couldn't see yet. But then she thought about her sister's last email, about how the school fees had gone up again, about her mother's medicine running low. I'll think about it, she typed back. But I'm not a miracle worker. Just someone who pays attention. His response came immediately. That makes you rarer than you know. 3 days later, Ariana stood outside a penthouse apartment in the wealthiest part of the city, her resignation letter from the hospital burning a hole in her bag. She'd done background checks, asked around, learned that Minchon Yoon was known for being ruthlessly fair in business, generous to his employees, and completely devoted to his infant son after his wife died during childbirth 8 months ago. Everyone spoke highly of him. Nobody mentioned anything that explained the careful way people said import-export business, like they were avoiding saying something else entirely. The door opened before she could knock. Minchon stood there in casual clothes this time, jeans and a simple black shirt that somehow made him look more dangerous than the suit had. Behind him, she could hear a baby cooing happily. You came, he said, and the relief in his voice was palpable. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, Ariana admitted. This is insane.
You know that, right?
People don't just hire random women off the street to live with them and care for their kids. You're not random. Minchon stepped aside, gesturing her in. You saved Soo-hyun. That makes you family whether you take this job or not. Come see him. He's already gained back half a kilo. The apartment was beautiful but not ostentatious, filled with natural light and baby toys scattered across expensive rugs. Soo-hyun was in a bouncer, chubby arms waving at nothing, his cheeks definitely fuller than they'd been in the hospital photos Minchon had shown her. When he saw his father, his whole face lit up with pure joy. He's gorgeous, Ariana whispered, moving closer without thinking. The baby grabbed her finger when she offered it, holding on with surprising strength. Look at those cheeks coming back already. Thanks to you. Minchon was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Ariana, I need to be honest about something before you agree to anything. My business isn't exactly legal in the traditional sense. Her stomach dropped. You're a criminal. I prefer businessman with flexible ethics. He tried for humor, but it fell flat. I run protection services and conflict resolution for the Korean community here and back home. People come to me when the police can't or won't help. I don't sell weapons or hurt innocent people, but I'm not going to lie and say I'm a saint either. Ariana should have left right then. Should have grabbed her bag and run back to her safe, boring janitorial job. But Soo-hyun was still holding her finger, and Min-chan was looking at her with a vulnerability that seemed at odds with everything he'd just confessed. "Why tell me?" she asked instead. "You could have just let me believe the import-export story. Because if you're going to be in my home, around my son, you deserve to know the truth." Min-chan moved closer, his voice dropping. "And because something tells me you're someone who values honesty even when it's uncomfortable." Ariana pulled her finger gently from Soo-hyun's grip, needing space to think. "My mother would kill me if she knew I was even considering this. She didn't raise me to work for gangsters. She raised you to survive," Min-chan said quietly. "To be smart enough to spot what trained doctors missed. To be brave enough to speak up when you could have stayed silent. That's the kind of person I need around my son, someone who won't just follow orders blindly." "That's a nice speech, but—" "I'll pay you $6,000 a month," he interrupted. "Plus room and board if you want to live here, or I'll cover transportation if you prefer to commute. Full health insurance, tuition coverage if you want to go back to school, and a college fund for anyone in your family who needs it." The numbers hit Ariana like a physical blow. 6,000 was more than she'd make in 4 months at the hospital. "That's too much for a nanny." "You're not just a nanny. You're the person who saved my son when everyone else failed." Min-chan's jaw tightened. "Money means nothing if Soo-hyun isn't healthy. You gave me back my reason for living. 6,000 is nothing compared to that." Ariana thought about Lucy, about their mother's medicine, about the nursing degree that suddenly seemed possible instead of impossible. "I want it in writing. Contract, salary, everything. And if I see you doing something that puts this baby in danger, I walk away with enough severance to report you to every authority I can find." Something like respect flashed across Min-chan's face.
Deal.
"My lawyer can have papers ready by tomorrow. In the meantime, let me show you what the job actually involves." The next 2 hours were surreal. Min-chan walked her through Soo-hyun's routine, showed her the properly prepared formula, explained his schedule and the security measures around the apartment. There were cameras everywhere, except the bathrooms and bedrooms. 3 guards rotated shifts in the building. Visitors required advance approval. "This is because of your business," Ariana guessed, watching Min-chan test a bottle's temperature with practiced ease. "You have enemies." "I have rivals," he corrected. "Big difference. Enemies want you dead. Rivals just want what you have. But yes, security is necessary. You'll have a panic button and everyone on my team knows you're to be protected at all costs." Protected from what exactly? Min-chan's expression went cold in a way that reminded her exactly who she was dealing with. "From anyone stupid enough to think hurting my son, or his caretaker, would give them leverage over me. It wouldn't. It would just give them a very short, very painful remainder of their lives." Ariana probably should have been scared. Instead, she found herself oddly reassured. "You really love him." "He's all I have left to view me," Min-chan said softly, his gaze on Soo-hyun. "My wife. She knew what she was getting into when she married me. Knew the risks. But she wanted this baby so badly, and I wanted to make her happy. When she died, bringing him into the world." He stopped, swallowed hard. "I promised her I'd keep him safe. That's a promise I intend to keep." "Then we're agreed on one thing at least." Ariana reached for Soo-hyun, who came to her easily, snuggling against her shoulder with a contented sigh. "This baby's safety comes first, before money or business or anything else." "Before everything," Min-chan agreed. "Even me." She started the next day, moving into the guest room with her single suitcase of belongings and a head full of doubts. But Soo-hyun was easy to love, all giggles and curiosity, growing stronger by the day on his properly prepared formula. And Min-chan was nothing like she'd expected. He worked from home most days, taking calls in Korean and English and occasionally Mandarin, always stepping out when conversations turned too business-focused. He changed diapers without complaint, sang lullabies off-key, and looked at his son like he contained all the world's wonders. "You're different than I thought you'd be," Ariana admitted one night while they cleaned up after dinner. Min-chan had insisted on cooking some Korean dish with more ingredients than she could count. "I expected, maybe someone scarier. I'm plenty scary when I need to be." But he was smiling as he said it, rinsing dishes with domestic ease. "You just haven't seen that side yet. Hopefully you never will." "Hopefully," Ariana echoed, but part of her wondered. She'd caught glimpses already. The way his voice changed on certain phone calls, the tension in his shoulders when he got particular texts, the gun she'd found cleaning out a drawer he'd told her to organize. He'd apologized for that one, moved it somewhere she wouldn't stumble across it again. "Does it bother you?" he asked suddenly. "What I do? Who I am?" Ariana considered the question seriously. "It should probably bother me more than it does. But I grew up in Kinshasa during the conflicts. I know what real monsters look like."
You're not that.
"How do you know?" "Because real monsters don't apologize for leaving weapons where nannies might find them. They don't sing to their babies or learn to make formula perfectly or pay someone $6,000 a month to keep their son safe." She dried her hands, meeting his eyes. "You're just a man trying to protect his family. I understand that." Something shifted between them in that moment, something Ariana didn't have words for. Min-chan moved closer, near enough that she could smell his cologne, something clean and subtle. "You're remarkable. You know that." "I'm practical," she corrected, but her heart was beating faster. "There's a difference." "Not to me." His hand came up like he might touch her face, then dropped. "I should. Soo-hyun needs his bath." "I'll do it," Ariana said quickly, needing space from whatever was happening. "You finish the dishes." But that night, lying in her comfortable guest bed, she couldn't stop thinking about the look in Min-chan's eyes. About how natural it felt to share dinner with him, to laugh at his stories about Soo-hyun's various adventures, to exist in his space like she belonged there. It was dangerous territory. He was her employer, a criminal, someone completely off-limits. She needed to remember that. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lucy, thanking her again for the tuition payment, asking when she'd come visit. Ariana smiled, typing back reassurances. This job was worth any complicated feelings. She'd dealt with harder things than an inconvenient attraction. Except it wasn't just attraction. Over the following weeks, Ariana started noticing things that made her chest ache. The way Min-chan left his office door open when she was around, like he wanted her nearby. How he always saved her the best parts of whatever he cooked. The careful way he never touched her, maintaining professional distance even when every look said he wanted to do otherwise. And worst of all, the way Soo-hyun would reach for both of them now like they were a unit, a family, something real. "We need to talk," Min-chan said one evening after Soo-hyun was down for the night. His expression was serious, almost pained. "This isn't working." Ariana's heart plummeted. "If I've done something wrong."
No.
"God, no." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "You're perfect. That's the problem. Every day you're here, I like you more. Every time you smile at my son or tell me about your family or just exist in my space, I want things I have no right to want. It's not fair to you." "What things?" The question came out breathier than she intended. Min-chan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Don't make me say it. You know what things. I'm your employer. You're here for Soo-hyun, not for me. I need to maintain boundaries, but I'm failing spectacularly at that lately." Ariana should agree. Should nod and retreat to her room and rebuild the professional walls they'd let crumble. Instead, she stepped closer. "What if I told you I was failing at boundaries too?" His eyes snapped to hers, dark and intense. "Then I'd say we're both in trouble." "Probably," she agreed. "But maybe that's okay?" "It's not okay." But he didn't move away. "Ariana, I can't offer you normal. I can't take you on regular dates or introduce you to my family without explaining what I do. People in my life get hurt sometimes. I've already lost you, me. I can't risk." "You're not risking me," Ariana interrupted. "I'm not delicate. I'm not going to break just because your job is complicated. And I'm definitely not going to just disappear like you seem to think I will. You don't understand what you'd be signing up for. Then explain it to me. She reached out, touching his arm lightly. Stop treating me like I need protecting from information. I'm an adult. Let me make my own choices. Minchon stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly he began talking. About his father's business that he'd inherited too young. About the network of protection and influence he'd built across 3 countries. About the money laundering and the bribes and the occasional necessity of violence he never wanted Soo-hyun to witness. About rivals who'd threatened him. About the Korean syndicate elders who respected his success, but resented his youth. About how he'd tried to go legitimate after Yumi died, but found the legal world didn't want someone with his background. So, I do what I'm good at, he finished quietly. I protect people who can't protect themselves. I solve problems the police won't touch. And I make enough money that my son will never want for anything. That's who I am. Ariana absorbed it all, turning the information over in her mind. And you think this makes you unworthy of being cared about? I think it makes me dangerous to care about. Well, that's too bad. She squeezed his arm gently. Because I already do. Care about you, probably. And Soo-hyun, definitely. So you're going to have to figure out how to handle that. Minchon looked at her like she'd spoken in riddles. You can't just decide to care about someone like me. Too late. Ariana pulled her hand back, suddenly self-conscious. Look, I'm not asking for anything. I needed you to know. We're both adults. We can acknowledge feelings exist without acting on them inappropriately or whatever. Right? That's the most rational approach to irrational emotions I've ever heard, he said, and there was something warm in his voice now, something almost like hope. You're sure? Because once you're in my world, really in it, there's no easy way out. I'm already in it, she pointed out. I live here. I take care of your son. I know what you do. How is acknowledging that I also happen to like you any different? Because if something happens to you, it's my fault. His voice cracked slightly. I couldn't survive that guilt. Ariana understood then, the fear underneath all his protests. Yumi's death wasn't your fault. The pregnancy complications were made worse by stress. Stress from my enemies making threats. From her worrying about whether our son would be safe. The doctors said sometimes things just happen. Ariana interrupted firmly. She'd read up on it after he'd mentioned his wife's death, needing to understand. Eclampsia can strike anyone. It's not caused by stress or worry or your job. It just happens. Horribly, tragically, but not because of anything you did. Minchon's eyes were suspiciously bright. You researched it. I research everything. It's how I knew about the formula problem, remember? She tried for lightness, but her own throat was tight. I'm sorry you lost her. I'm sorry Soo-hyun will never know his mother. But you can't let fear of losing people stop you from living. That's easier said than done. Most things are. She glanced toward the baby monitor, where they could hear Soo-hyun's soft breathing. But you're already doing it with him. Every day you risk loving that baby more, knowing something could happen. This isn't different. It's completely different, Minchon argued, but his resolve was weakening. She could see it in how he moved closer, drawn despite himself. He's my son. I'm what? You're the first person since Yumi who makes me think about futures instead of just surviving day to day. The confession seemed torn from somewhere deep. When you smile at me over breakfast, I forget why I shouldn't want this. When you fall asleep on the couch with Soo-hyun on your chest, I have to stop myself from taking photos like some lovesick teenager. You're dangerous to my carefully controlled life, Ariana. And the worst part is I don't even want to stop you. Her heart was thundering now. Then don't. I have to. You deserve better than. His phone rang, shrill in the quiet apartment. Minchon cursed in Korean, glancing at the screen, and his whole body went rigid. I need to take this. It's Chon-young, my second in command. He wouldn't call this late unless something was wrong. Ariana nodded, stepping back to give him privacy. But his hand shot out, catching her wrist gently.
Stay. Please.
Whatever this is, I want you to hear it too. He answered in Korean, his voice sharp and businesslike. Ariana couldn't understand the words, but she understood tone. Something was very wrong. Min-chan's face went from concern to furious to carefully blank. When he finally hung up, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. One of my shipments was intercepted, he said flatly. Legitimate merchandise this time, medical supplies going to a free clinic in the Korean district. But someone tipped off customs that it was contraband. The whole thing's impounded, the clinic won't get their supplies, and I'm under investigation. Who would do that? Someone trying to make me look bad with the community elders. Min-chan was already texting, fingers flying across the screen. Probably Hwan-sik. He's been angling for my territory for months. This is exactly his style, hurt innocent people to make me look incompetent. What are you going to do? He looked up from his phone, and the expression on his face was the scary one she'd wondered about. Cold. Calculating. Completely controlled. I'm going to handle it. But I need you to do something for me. Anything, she said before thinking. Take Soo-hyun and go to the safe house. Address is in the kitchen drawer, under the takeout menus. There are guards there who'll protect you both. Stay until I call and say it's safe to come back. You think whoever did this will come here? I think I'm not taking chances with my son's safety. Or yours. He was moving now, pulling on a jacket, checking something in a locked drawer she hadn't been allowed to clean. Ariana, please don't argue. Just do this for me. I'm not arguing, she said calmly, even though her heart was racing. But I'm also not running to some safe house when you're walking into danger. Soo-hyun can go with your guards. I'm staying here. Absolutely not. You don't get to make that choice for me. She crossed her arms. Either we're partners in whatever this is between us, or I'm just an employee you order around. Which is it? Min-chan stared at her, conflict written across every feature. This isn't fair. Life rarely is. She softened slightly. I trust your guards with Soo-hyun.
I don't trust them with you.
Someone needs to watch your back while you're handling this mess. Let it be me. You're impossible. I'm practical, remember? She moved to grab her phone. I'll call the guards to come get the baby. You do whatever plotting and planning you need to do. Then we'll both go deal with this Hwan-sik problem. Together. Something like awe crossed Min-chan's face. I think I'm falling for you. Good. Ariana said simply. Because I'm already halfway there with you. Now stop staring and start planning. We have a baby to protect and apparently a rival to humiliate. 20 minutes later, Soo-hyun was safely away with 2 guards Min-chan trusted implicitly, and Ariana was sitting in his office while he made call after call in rapid Korean. She couldn't understand most of it, but she understood body language. He was calling in favors, gathering information, building a response. When he finally hung up, he looked grimly satisfied. Hwan-sik made a mistake, Min-chan said. The customs agent he bribed has a gambling problem. One of my people knows about it. We can leverage that to expose the whole thing, get my shipment released, and make Hwan-sik look like he's targeting community resources. The elders will have to discipline him. That's simple? Nothing's ever simple. But yes, essentially. He leaned back in his chair, studying her. You really want to be part of this? The late-night calls, the political maneuvering, the constant awareness that someone might be trying to undermine me. I grew up in a war zone, Ariana reminded him. I've seen worse than business rivals playing games. At least here, people use bribes instead of bullets. Sometimes they use both. But not tonight? Not tonight, he confirmed. Tonight we just use information and well-placed pressure. Tomorrow, Hwan-sik wakes up to find his credibility destroyed and his attempt to damage me completely backfired. Ariana felt something fierce and protective rise in her chest.
Good.
Nobody hurts people depending on medical supplies just to play power games. He deserves whatever you're going to do to him. There's the warrior I suspected was hiding under all that practical competence. Min-chan smiled, but it was edged. Ariana, if we're really doing this, being together, being a team, you need to know it won't always be this bloodless. Sometimes, things get messy, eh? I know. She met his eyes steadily. And I'm choosing to trust you anyway. You're not a monster, Min-chan. You're just a man doing what he needs to do to protect people he loves. I understand that. Even when what I need to do isn't exactly legal or moral? Even then, within reason. She paused. I'm not going to support you hurting innocent people or anything genuinely evil. But protecting your interests and your community? Making sure people face consequences for their actions? That's just survival. Min-chan moved around the desk, kneeling in front of her chair, so they were eye level. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she agreed, smiling. But you're stuck with me anyway. I can live with that. He reached up, hesitating, and she met him halfway, her hand covering his against her cheek. Ariana, I need you to promise me something. What? If this ever gets to be too much, if you're scared or uncomfortable or you want out, tell me. Don't just disappear. Don't make me wonder if I drove you away. Just tell me. I promise, she said softly. But Min-chan? I'm not going anywhere. You're not getting rid of me that easily. His laugh was shaky with relief. Stubborn woman. You like stubborn. I really do. He stood, pulling her up with him. Come on. We need to meet with Chan Young and go over the evidence against Hwansik. Might as well throw you into the deep end of my world. The next several hours were a crash course in organized crime politics. Chan Young was a compact Korean man with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind, who accepted Ariana's presence with barely a raised eyebrow. He laid out the evidence they'd gathered: bank records, text messages, testimony from the bribed customs agent who'd cracked under surprisingly gentle pressure. It was damning, comprehensive, and would absolutely destroy Hwansik's standing with the community elders. We present this tomorrow at the council meeting, Chan Young said in accented English, clearly for Ariana's benefit. Hwansik will have no defense. The elders will probably force him to pay restitution and remove him from consideration for any territory expansion. What about the clinic? Ariana asked. Do they get their supplies? Released by end of week, Min-chan assured her. I've already arranged replacement shipments in case customs drags their feet. The clinic won't suffer for Hwansik's games. Good. She relaxed slightly. So, this is over? This particular crisis is over, Chan Young corrected. But there will be others. There always are. Min-chan has many rivals who'd love to see him fall. Then they'll be disappointed. Ariana looked at Min-chan. Because he's not going anywhere. Something wordless passed between the two men, some kind of understanding or approval. Then Chan Young was gathering his papers, making polite excuses, and leaving them alone in the office as dawn started painting the sky outside. He likes you, Min-chan observed. Chan Young doesn't like anyone. I'm very likable, Ariana said, but she was exhausted suddenly, the adrenaline crash hitting her all at once. Is it always like this? Crisis management and political maneuvering at all hours. Sometimes it's worse, Min-chan admitted. He looked tired too, the kind of bone-deep weariness that came from constant vigilance. But sometimes it's just normal. Boring meetings and paperwork and Soo-hyun learning new words. We get quiet periods too. I'll believe that when I see it. But she was smiling, moving closer to him. We should probably sleep before the baby comes back. Probably. He didn't move. Ariana, about what I said earlier about falling for you. You can take it back if you want, she offered, even though the words hurt to say. I know it was a stressful night. You don't have to mean it. I meant every word. His hand came up to cup her face, gentle despite everything they'd just dealt with. I'm terrified of what that means, of how many ways this could go wrong, but I meant it. You've become essential to me somehow. Not just because you saved Soo-hyun, or because you're good at your job. Because you're you. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me, and we're standing in your crime office at dawn. Ariana laughed shakily. We're terrible at this. Completely terrible, he agreed. But maybe that's okay too. Maybe. She leaned into his touch, letting herself have this moment. Min-chan, I can't promise I'll never be scared. Your world is dangerous and complicated. But I can promise I won't run just because things get hard. I'm choosing this. Choosing you. Even knowing what you're getting into? Especially knowing. She pulled back slightly, meeting his eyes. I'm not naive. I understand there will be more nights like tonight, more crises, more arrivals. I'm prepared for that. What I'm not prepared for is walking away and spending the rest of my life wondering what we could have been. Min-chan's expression softened into something achingly vulnerable. You're sure? I'm sure. And she was. Despite the fear, despite the complications, despite every logical reason to keep things professional, she was absolutely sure. Now can we please sleep before I fall over? Yes. He tugged her toward his bedroom, then stopped. Or you can sleep in the guest room if you're more comfortable. Min-chan. She gave him an exasperated look. I just stayed up all night helping you destroy a business rival. I think we're past the point of pretending we need separate rooms. Just to sleep, he clarified quickly. I'm not. I mean, I want to, but not because you feel obligated or... Just to sleep, she agreed, amused by his sudden nervousness. Though for someone who runs a criminal empire, you're surprisingly anxious about sharing a bed. It's different with you, he muttered, but he was pulling her into the bedroom now, and Ariana felt something settle in her chest. This was right. Complicated and messy and probably inadvisable, but right. They collapsed onto the bed fully clothed, exhaustion winning over any other considerations. Ariana felt Min-chan's arm come around her waist, tugging her back against his chest, and she went willingly. His breath was warm against her neck, his heartbeat steady against her spine. Thank you, he whispered, for staying, for not running, for being brave enough for both of us. Thank you for letting me in, she whispered back, for trusting me with your world. She felt him smile against her hair. Sleep, Ariana. We'll figure out the rest later. She did sleep, deeper and more peacefully than she had in years. When she woke, afternoon sun was streaming through the windows and Min-chan was gone, but there was a note on the pillow beside her. At the council meeting. Should be back by 3. Guards are bringing Soo-hyun home at 2. Make yourself comfortable, this is your home now too.
JY. You're home now too.
The words made something warm bloom in Ariana's chest. She got up, showered in Min-chan's bathroom with its expensive soaps and ridiculous water pressure, borrowed one of his shirts because it was comfortable and smelled like him. When the guards arrived with Soo-hyun, the baby shrieked with delight and launched himself at her, clearly thrilled to be home. Miss Ariana, one of the guards said respectfully, Mr. Yoon wanted us to inform you that the council meeting went well. Mr. Hwan should no longer be a problem. Thank you, Ariana said, juggling an excited Soo-hyun. Was there any trouble?
None.
Hwan-sik tried to argue his case, but the evidence was irrefutable. He's been stripped of his territories and ordered to make financial restitution to the clinic. Some are saying he might leave the city entirely rather than face the shame. Good. Ariana thought viciously, then felt slightly guilty for the venom in it. But only slightly. The man had tried to hurt a medical clinic to play power games. He deserved whatever consequences came his way. Min-chan arrived home an hour later looking triumphant and exhausted. Soo-hyun squealed and made grabby hands at his father, and Ariana watched them embrace, with something tender lodged in her throat. This was her family now. Chosen rather than born into, complicated rather than simple, but hers. It went well, she asked, already knowing the answer. Better than well. Hwan-sik is finished in the city. The elders were furious when they saw the evidence, especially the part about intercepting medical supplies. He'll be lucky if he's still allowed to do any business in Korean circles after this. Min-chan looked at her over Soo-hyun's head. We make a good team. We do, she agreed. Scary how good, actually. Is that going to be a problem? Not unless you make it one. She moved closer, letting Soo-hyun grab at both their faces. But Min-chan? Next crisis, we're sleeping before the meeting, not after. I feel like I got hit by a truck. He laughed, the sound lighter than she'd heard before.
Deal.
Though knowing my life, we probably won't get much notice on the next disaster. Then we'll handle it together, Ariana said simply. Whatever comes. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm that felt almost normal. Ariana cared for Soo-hyun during the day, while Min-chan handled business. They cooked dinner together, gave the baby his bath together, collapsed into bed together at night with exhaustion that precluded anything beyond cuddling. It was domestic and sweet and nothing like what Ariana had imagined her life becoming when she'd spotted that spilled formula in the hospital. But it was also punctuated by reminders of Min-chan's real world. The late-night calls he took in hushed Korean. The meetings with men in expensive suits who looked at her with curiosity and calculation. The time she found Soo-hyun playing with what turned out to be an encrypted phone someone had left behind. The gun that reappeared in a drawer despite Min-chan's promise to keep weapons away from where the baby could access them. "I'm sorry," he said when she confronted him about it. "There was a credible threat last week. I needed it close until I could verify the situation was handled." "What kind of threat?" Ariana demanded. "And why didn't you tell me?" "Because you would have worried," he said, then immediately realized his mistake. You mean you decided I couldn't handle knowing?" Her voice was dangerously calm. "Min-chan, you can't do that. If we're partners, I need to know when there's danger. I can't protect Soo-hyun if I don't know what I'm protecting him from." "The threat wasn't directed at either of you." "It doesn't matter. If you're in danger, we're in danger. That's how this works." She was pacing now, frustrated and scared. "Don't shut me out because you think you're protecting me. That's not how trust works." Min-chan looked like she'd slapped him. "You're right.
I'm sorry."
Old habits. Yumi always wanted to know everything, but then she'd worry so much it made her sick. "I thought if I just handled things quietly, you'd never have to be afraid." "I'm already afraid," Ariana admitted. "I'm afraid every time you leave for a meeting with people whose names I don't know. I'm afraid when you come home late without calling. I'm afraid when I see guards checking the building perimeter more frequently than usual. Knowing the details doesn't make it worse. It just gives me information to work with." "You're afraid, and you stayed anyway." He moved closer, his expression raw.
"Why?"
"Because I love you, probably." The words came out before she could stop them, and Ariana froze. That is, we haven't really talked about." "I love you too," Min-chan interrupted, and his voice cracked on the words. "I have for weeks. Maybe since you first corrected me about formula preparation, like you had every right to challenge me. You're fierce and brilliant, and you make me want to be better than I am." "You're already better than you think," Ariana said softly. "You just need to trust me to handle the hard parts with you." "I do trust you. I'm just bad at showing it, apparently." He reached for her, and she went, letting him pull her close. "No more secrets. No more deciding what you can and can't handle. If there's a threat, you know about it. If I'm worried, I tell you. Deal?"
"Deal."
She pressed her face against his chest, breathing him in. "What was the threat last week?" "A rival from Seoul wanted to make inroads here. Sent some people to pressure my business contacts, test my defenses. We encouraged them to return home instead." His voice was carefully neutral on that last part, and Ariana decided she didn't need to know exactly what encouraged meant. "Is it handled now?" "Completely. Chan Young made sure they understood that this territory isn't available for expansion." He paused. "They also understood that hurting my family would result in consequences that wouldn't be worth whatever they might gain." "My family." The phrase made Ariana's eyes sting. "We're your family now?" "You've been my family since you decided to stay," Min-chan said simply. "Both of you. I know we're not traditional, and I know there are probably better men you could choose, but—" "Stop." Ariana pulled back to look at him. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be. With anyone else. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Even when it's complicated and dangerous and nothing like normal? Especially then." She managed to smile. "Normal is overrated anyway." Min-chan kissed her forehead, gentle and reverent. "I don't deserve you. You keep saying that. Eventually, I'm going to start believing you're fishing for compliments." His laugh was surprised and genuine. "Maybe I am. You're good for my ego." "Your ego is just fine without my help," Ariana teased. But then she sobered. "Min-chan, I need you to promise me something else." "Anything." "If this life ever puts Soo-hyun in real danger, If staying in this world means he's not safe, promise me you'll walk away. That you'll go legitimate even if it's hard. Min-chan was quiet for a long moment. That's asking me to give up everything I've built. I'm asking you to choose your son over your empire, she corrected.
If it comes to that.
Which hopefully it never will. But if it does, then I walk away, he said finally. For him.
And for you.
Because you're right, some things are more important than power or money or reputation. I just never had anyone to make me see that before. Well, you do now. Ariana kissed his cheek, then stepped back. Speaking of Soo-hyun, we should probably check on him. It's been suspiciously quiet for the last 10 minutes. They found the baby in his nursery, happily destroying a pile of blocks and babbling to himself in his own language. He grinned when he saw them, showing off his 4 new teeth with pride. He's getting so big, Ariana observed, scooping him up. Soon he'll be running around, getting into everything. Then we'll have to chase him. Min-chan tickled Soo-hyun's belly, earning delighted giggles. At least there's 2 of us now. Divide and conquer. Is that your strategy for everything? Divide and conquer? It's worked pretty well so far. But he was smiling as he said it, and the moment felt perfect. Just their little family, safe and together. The dangerous world held at bay by love and determination. That evening, after Soo-hyun was asleep, Min-chan pulled out his laptop and showed Ariana something he'd been working on. I've been looking into legitimate business ventures. Nothing huge yet, but investments that don't require flexible ethics. Real estate development, tech startups, clean energy. Things that could eventually replace the other income. You're really thinking about going straight? Ariana felt hope bloom in her chest. I'm thinking about building options, he corrected. So that if the day comes when we need to walk away, we can. Without losing everything we've worked for. It'll take years probably, but yes. I'm laying groundwork. Because of what I said about choosing Soo-hyun. Because of what you represent. Min-chan closed the laptop, turning to face her fully.
Hope.
A future that isn't just about survival and power plays. You make me believe better things are possible. That maybe my son doesn't have to grow up in this world. That maybe we can build something different. Ariana felt tears prick her eyes. That's all I want. For him to have choices we didn't have. Then we'll make sure he does. Min-chan reached for her hand, threading their fingers together. Together. No more secrets, no more deciding things alone. We're partners now. Partners, she agreed, and the word felt like a vow. The months that followed were both harder and easier than Ariana expected. There were more late-night emergencies, more rivals testing Min-chan's defenses, more moments when she had to trust that he'd come home safe from meetings she wasn't allowed to attend. But there were also quiet mornings with Soo-hyun, lazy Sunday afternoons in the park, dinner parties with Chan-young and other members of Min-chan's organization who slowly accepted her as part of their world. She learned bits of Korean, picked up the coded language they used to discuss business, became fluent in reading Min-chan's moods and knowing when to push and when to give him space. And slowly, impossibly, they built something real. Not perfect, because nothing involving organized crime could be perfect, but real nonetheless. A family cobbled together from unlikely parts, held together by love and trust, and the determination to be better than their circumstances. I want to marry you, Min-chan said one evening, completely out of nowhere. They were washing dishes after dinner, Soo-hyun babbling happily from his high chair nearby. Not right away, probably. Not until I can offer you something closer to normal. But eventually, I want you to be my wife. Ariana nearly dropped the plate she was rinsing. That's the least romantic proposal I've ever heard. It's not a proposal yet, he defended. It's a statement of intent. The actual proposal will be much better, probably. I'll plan something nice. Please don't, she said seriously. I don't need romance or grand gestures. I just need you exactly like this. Honest and imperfect and trying. So that's a yes? Eventually? That's a yes, she confirmed, and watched his whole face light up. But you're right that we should wait. Maybe until some of those legitimate businesses are actually making money. Until we can tell people what you do without coded language. That's going to take years, probably. Then we have years. Ariana set down the dish, moving to wrap her arms around his waist from behind. I'm not going anywhere, remember? I'm stubborn like that. Thank God for stubborn women, Min-chan said, and she felt him relax into her embrace. Ariana, I need to tell you something else. What? The Seoul Syndicate reached out. They want me to take over operations for the entire Western region. It's a huge promotion, more money than I know what to do with, real power and influence. But it would also mean more danger, more obligations, deeper involvement in the life. Ariana's stomach sank. What did you tell them? That I needed time to think about it. To talk to my family. He turned in her arms, his expression serious. Because that's what you are now. You and Soo-hyun. My family. And I'm not making major life decisions without consulting you. Do you want to take it? She asked carefully. The promotion, the power, is that what you want? Min-chan was quiet for a long moment. A year ago, I would have said yes immediately. It's everything I've been working toward since I took over my father's operations.
But now.
He looked at Soo-hyun, then back at Ariana. Now I'm not sure. What I want most is a life where my son is safe and the woman I love doesn't have to worry every time I leave the house. This promotion doesn't give me that. It just gives me more complications. Then turn it down, Ariana said simply. Tell them thank you, but no. Focus on building the legitimate businesses instead. It might take longer to make the same money, but we'll survive. And we'll do it without constantly looking over our shoulders. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. Not easy, definitely, but simple. She cupped his face in her hands. Choose us. Choose a future where Soo-hyun doesn't grow up thinking his father's job involves threats and violence. Choose giving him something better. I choose you, Min-chan said quietly. Both of you. Always. He declined the promotion the next day, and the aftermath was tense. The Seoul Syndicate wasn't happy about being refused. There were veiled threats, suggestions that turning down such an honor was disrespectful, implications that he might find himself without their protection if he insisted on this path. But Min-chan held firm, and eventually they backed down, more surprised than angry that someone had chosen family over power. That took guts, Chan-young said when he heard. The elders will respect you for it even if they don't understand it. I don't need them to understand, Min-chan replied. I just need them to leave me alone to build my own path. And if they don't, if they decide you're a liability for refusing, then we'll handle that when it comes. But his hand found Ariana's, squeezing gently. For now, we focus on what matters. What mattered turned out to be Soo-hyun's first birthday party, a chaotic affair filled with more adults than children and enough Korean food to feed an army. Ariana's sister Lucy flew in from home, and watching her interact with Soo-hyun made something ache in Ariana's chest. This was family. Chosen and biological mixed together, celebrating life despite all the complications surrounding it. He's beautiful, Lucy said, bouncing Soo-hyun on her hip. And you're happy. I can see it. You practically glow when you look at Min-chan. I am happy, Ariana admitted. Which is strange, because on paper this is a terrible situation. Dating my employer, raising a child that isn't mine, living in a world where people solve problems with intimidation and bribes. But somehow it works. Because you love them, Lucy said simply. Both of them. Love makes even complicated things feel right. When did you get so wise? When my sister moved halfway around the world and started sending enough money home that I could actually finish university without working 3 jobs. Lucy's eyes were bright with unshed tears. You saved me, Ariana.
Just like you saved that baby.
You have a gift for seeing what people need and giving it to them. I just pay attention, Ariana protested, but her throat was tight. It's not that special. It absolutely is. Lucy shifted Soo-hyun to her other hip. And Min-chan knows it. The way he looks at you. That man would burn the world down to keep you safe. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Ariana said, but she knew her sister was right. She'd seen it in Min-chan's eyes, that fierce protectiveness that went beyond reason. It should probably scare her. Instead, it made her feel cherished. That night, after all the guests had left and Soo-hyun was finally asleep, Min-chan pulled Ariana onto the balcony. The city sprawled below them, lights twinkling in the darkness, and for a moment they just stood there together, breathing in the cool air. "Thank you," he said finally, "for today, for bringing your family into our lives, for making this feel like a real home instead of just a place I hide from my enemies." "This is a real home," Ariana corrected. "We made it one. Together." "Together," he echoed. Then, before she could react, he was pulling out a small box from his pocket. "I know we said we'd wait, but watching you today with my son and your sister and everyone we love, I couldn't wait anymore. Ariana Okafor, will you marry me?"
Not someday.
"Not eventually."
Now.
Ariana stared at the ring, a simple band with a stone that caught the city lights and threw them back in fragments. "You said you'd plan something nice." "This is nice," Min-chan defended. "Private, just us after a perfect day. What's nicer than that?" "Nothing," she admitted, and suddenly she was crying, happy tears that she didn't bother to hide.
Yes.
Obviously, yes. "But Min-chan, we still have so much to figure out. Your business, the legitimate ventures, Soo-hyun's future." "We'll figure it out together," he interrupted, sliding the ring onto her finger with shaking hands. "That's what partners do, right? Face the complicated parts as a team." "Right." Ariana looked at the ring, then at him, then at the view of their city. "This is insane. You know that." "Completely insane," he agreed. "But also right." "This is right, Ariana. Us together, building a family, choosing love over logic. It's the most right thing I've ever done." She kissed him then, gentle and sweet and full of promise. "Then let's be insane together. Let's get married and raise your son and build those legitimate businesses and prove that people like us can have happy endings too." "People like us?" "Survivors," Ariana said simply. "People who've seen the worst of the world and choose to believe in better anyway. That's who we are." Min-chan held her close, his face glued into her hair. "I love you. So much it scares me sometimes." "I love you too. The scary kind of love that changes everything." They stood like that for a long time, wrapped up in each other while the city hummed below. Behind them, through the glass door, they could hear Soo-hyun stirring in his crib, making the small noises that meant he'd wake soon. Their son, their family, their future, complicated and imperfect and absolutely worth fighting for. "We should go to him," Ariana said eventually, "before he wakes up properly and decides it's playtime." "In a minute." Min-chan pulled back just enough to look at her face. "Ariana, I need you to understand something. What you did when you spotted that formula problem, you didn't just save Soo-hyun's life. You saved mine too. I was drowning in grief and guilt and fear. You gave me hope again. Purpose beyond just surviving. Everything good in my life now exists because you were brave enough to speak up when you could have stayed silent." "I couldn't stay silent," she protested. "Not when a baby was suffering and nobody was listening."
Exactly.
That's who you are. Someone who sees what needs to be done and does it, consequences be damned. That's why I fell for you." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. "That's why I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you." "You're already worthy," Ariana insisted. "You're a good man in a bad situation, trying to do better. That's more than most people manage." "Thanks to you." But before she could argue further, Soo-hyun's cries escalated from sleepy to demanding, and they both laughed. "Okay, now we really need to go to him." They went together, of course. That was how they did everything now. Min-chan scooped up his son while Ariana prepared a bottle using the method that had saved the baby's life months ago. Cool water first, then powder, gentle mixing without shaking. Simple steps that everyone had missed until she'd paid attention. "Will you tell him?" Min-chan asked softly, watching her work. "When he's older, will you tell Soo-hyun how you saved him?" "Maybe," Ariana said. "Or maybe we'll just let him know that love means paying attention. Noticing when something's wrong and having the courage to say so." That's a better lesson than making me into some kind of hero. You are a hero, though. My hero. Minchon's voice was rough with emotion. Both of you. My whole world in this tiny apartment. Ariana handed him the bottle, then leaned against his shoulder while he fed Soo-hyun. The baby's eyes were already drifting closed again, content and safe and growing stronger every day. Outside, the city continued its endless motion, full of danger and opportunity and complicated people trying their best. But here, in this moment, everything was simple. Love, family, hope. So, when do you want to get married? Minchon asked. Next month? Next year? Tomorrow? Let's say 6 months, Ariana decided. Long enough to plan something small, but not so long we're just putting it off. And we'll invite everyone who matters, your organization, my family back home, Lucy, and whoever else can make it. Nothing fancy, probably. Just us promising to keep choosing each other. Sounds perfect. He shifted Soo-hyun to his shoulder, patting the baby's back gently. And after the wedding? What then? After the wedding, we keep building, Ariana said. Keep growing the legitimate businesses. Keep being a family. Keep proving that love is stronger than circumstances. That's the rest of our lives, probably. I can live with that, Minchon said. Actually, I can't imagine living any other way now. The next 6 months passed in a blur of wedding planning and business growth, and Soo-hyun hitting every milestone right on schedule. Minchon's investments started paying off, real estate ventures, and tech startups that meant they could start depending less on the organization's money. It wasn't enough to walk away completely yet, but it was progress. A path forward that didn't require them to stay in the shadows forever. There were complications still, of course. A rival who tried to sabotage one of their construction projects until Chon-young convinced him otherwise. Questions from the syndicate elders about Minchon's commitment to the organization. A close call when someone followed Ariana home from a market and had to be scared off by their security team. But they handled each crisis together, neither of them facing the danger alone anymore. Is this what normal feels like? Ariana asked one night while they were addressing wedding invitations. Dealing with threats while planning flower arrangements? I have no idea, Minchon admitted. But it's our normal. That's what matters. Our normal, she agreed. Weird and complicated and perfect. The wedding itself was everything Ariana had hoped for and nothing she'd expected. Small ceremony in a garden. Maybe 30 people total, mixing Korean and Congolese traditions in ways that shouldn't work, but somehow did. Soo-hyun was ring-bearer, toddling down the aisle with the determination of someone who'd just learned to walk and wanted everyone to know it. Lucy was maid of honor, crying before the ceremony even started. Chon-young stood as best man, looking uncomfortable in his formal suit but genuinely happy for them. You make an honest man of me, Minchon whispered when they exchanged rings. Or honest enough, anyway. That's all anyone can ask, Ariana whispered back. Honest enough. They kissed to applause from their strange, wonderful collection of guests, and Ariana felt something click into place. This was her life now. Her family. Her future. Not despite the complications, but including them. Everything that made their story unique, messy, and absolutely worth telling. At the reception, Chon-young gave a surprisingly emotional speech about watching Minchon transform from a grief-haunted man into someone who smiled again. Lucy talked about her sister's courage and the way she'd always known Ariana would find something extraordinary, even if this wasn't quite what either of them expected. And when it was Ariana's turn to speak, she found herself choking up. I thought I was just a janitor, she said, looking at Minchon across the small crowd. Someone who cleaned up other people's messes and went home alone every night. But then I paid attention to the wrong thing at the right time, and it changed everything. Minchon says I saved his son. But really, he and Soo-hyun saved me too. Gave me a family when I thought I'd always be on the outside looking in. Showed me that love doesn't follow rules or make sense on paper. It just is. And I'm grateful every day for that gift. The party went late, full of laughter and dancing and food that represented both their cultures. Soo-hyun charmed everyone, babbling away in his mix of Korean and English and nonsense syllables that somehow communicated perfectly. And when they finally got home, the three of them collapsed on the couch together, exhausted and happy and complete. "We did it," Min-chan said wonderingly. "We actually made this work." "We did," Ariana agreed. "Against all odds and logic. We built something real." "What do you think happens next?" He was playing with her ring, spinning it on her finger. "After the wedding glow fades and we're back to regular life?" "We keep building," Ariana said simply. "Keep growing the businesses until you can walk away from the organization completely. Keep raising Soohyun to be kind and smart and brave. Keep choosing each other even when it's hard. That's what happens next. Just that. Just living." "Just living," she confirmed.
Together.
"As a family. That's enough." Min-chan kissed her temple, then looked at their sleeping son. "More than enough. It's everything." Years later, when Soohyun was old enough to ask questions, they told him the truth. About how his mother died, bringing him into the world. About how his father had been drowning until a janitor paid attention to something everyone else missed. About how love could be messy and complicated, but still worth choosing every single time. They told him about the organization his father used to run, the legitimate businesses they'd built to replace it, the way they'd fought for a future where he could make his own choices about what kind of man to be. And when Soohyun asked if they regretted any of it, the danger, the complications, the years of uncertainty, they looked at each other and smiled. "Not for a second," Ariana said firmly. "Every hard moment brought us here. To this life, this family, this love. How could we regret that?" "Never," Min-chan agreed. "Not when it gave us everything that matters." Because that was the truth they'd learned together, through crisis and joy and every moment in between. Love didn't need to be simple to be real. It just needed to be chosen. Every day, despite everything that tried to tear it apart. And they'd chosen each other, over and over, until choosing became as natural as breathing. That was their happy ending, not because everything was perfect or easy, but because they'd fought for it together and refused to let go. Two people from completely different worlds who'd found each other in the most unlikely way and built something extraordinary from the mess. And every night, when they tucked Soohyun into bed and kissed him goodnight, they were reminded of exactly what they'd won. Not power or money or status. Just family. Just love. Just each other. Which turned out to be the only treasure that really mattered anyway. And that's how a simple janitor's attention to detail saved a baby's life and ended up changing everything for three people who desperately needed saving. Sometimes the most important moments start with just noticing what everyone else missed and being brave enough to speak up about it. And if this one hits differently for you, maybe subscribe for even more heartfelt stories like this one, and leave a comment sharing your favorite moment or share it with someone who loves these kinds of unlikely romance tales.